What's up, everybody? Michael Sokolik Jr. here, MSJR financial coach with the Debt-Free Discovery. Today, I'm going to talk to you about emergency funds. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt-Free Discovery. This is Michael Sokolik Jr., MSJR financial coach, where we learn that all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Debt is dumb. Let's learn how to crush it, stay out of it, and never go back into it. We're going to learn how to give generously beyond your wildest imagination. These are all biblical principles that have stood up to the test of time. Get ready. This is the start of the Debt-Free Discovery.
Emergency funds. Why in the world are they important? Let me tell you why they're important. Because emergencies happen. Is that it? That's it. Emergencies happen. That's why emergency funds are important. Don't think for 1 second that credit cards should be used for emergencies. That is a terrible, terrible idea. If you think that emergency funds should be used through credit cards, I'm here to say I disagree with you. Why is it that I would disagree with that? Oh man, but credit cards have helped people and you can make small little payments. When you have debt, you compound against yourself. And if you're in an emergency because you don't have any money, then you borrow money from somebody else, then you got to pay interest on top of that. Guess where you are? Down here. And look, everything is getting piled on top of you. It is not a good idea. Okay? Let me straighten my shirt back up. All right, so emergency funds. What is a good emergency fund for you? All right, so you might have heard of Dave Ramsey, and he's got the Financial Peace University. He says, baby step number 1, save $1,000. I hear people all the time who say, that is ridiculous. $1,000, that's not going to do anything for you. Well, I don't know. Maybe they didn't run through the rest of the steps, because step number 2 is to pay off all your debt using the debt snowball. Then step number 3 is to build your emergency fund 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Did they read that far along? I don't know. But I'm also here with a little bit of a, what would you call that? I'm unbalanced when it comes to that $1,000 emergency. You see, the reason for the $1,000 emergency fund is this. 40% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency. And I think it was 58% of Americans cannot afford a $500 emergency. So why a $1,000 emergency? Because you want to create a behavior. You also want to create momentum. When you see that you can save $1,000, I just saved $1,000. I can afford a $400 emergency. Guess what else I can do? I can pay off debt. If I can save $1,000 in this amount of time, I can pay off $1,000 worth of debt in that amount of time. And keep doing that over and over and over. And then you create a momentum, a snowball, right? And voila, you have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund that you have been able to build. Now, I keep saying you're able to build. I also teach biblical principles. So I just want to note that Deuteronomy 8:18 says, don't forget the Lord your God who gives you the ability to build wealth. That's my translation. I encourage you to go read it for yourself. So again, this isn't your ability. This is God's, but I'm just, for shortness of explanation, that's how I'm going to word this, okay? So listen up. The first step is to save $1,000. If you don't have $1,000, you need to save $1,000. If you don't have $1,000, you need to save $1,000. Then you can start paying off your debt. Okay, Michael, I have $5,000 in the bank. Keep it. Keep the $5,000. Now, some people will say, spend $4,000 on getting out of debt and hold on to the $1,000. I'm a little bit different. If you've got more than $1,000, I'm going to say hold on to that. I think it's pretty important because you never know what kind of emergency will come up. Okay? Like there's single moms out there that I've coached and they're like, well, I've got like $3,500 in the bank. do I spend that and keep the $1,000? And I'm like, a single mom? No, you don't. You keep it. You might have some emergencies coming up, but you got to work extra hard. You got to work double time. Work harder to get out of debt. I see couples, same situation. Again, I just think that you should keep that, work a little bit harder to get out of debt. Okay. Now, if you're out of debt and you don't have $1,000, shoot for 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Now, some people say, well, how do you determine 3 to 6 months? If you have 2 incomes in your home, okay, both spouses are working, then you want to save up 3 months worth of expenses. If you only have one household income, I encourage you to save up 6 months worth of expenses. If you're wondering what this is, why I keep saying 6 like this, that's 6 in sign language. So it's all right. We have a deaf daughter, so I use a lot of signs when it comes to numbers and all that stuff. All right. Besides that, so when it comes to your emergency funds, they are extremely, extremely important. Here's how important they are. Are you ready for this one? This is a personal testimony. Okay, I'm recording this on December 23rd, 2021. On December 22nd, we got a phone call from our mechanic, and he said, Stephanie, that's my wife, I'm sorry, baby, but he said, to change those lifters and that particular engine is going to do this. You got to do that. You got to find a used engine to get a good price. And it's going to cost about this much money. But you got 170,000 miles. You don't know what's going to happen with your transmission next. Your differential. You're buying a used engine probably. So you don't know what's going to happen to that. The warranty is going to be really short. You got electrical components that could go wrong. Your seats are tore up. Your seats don't work. You got one window that don't work. The thing's really loud and it's bumpy. And we're just sitting here going, oh my gosh. Because I am the guy who says the cheapest car to operate is the one you own, right? Because I can keep sinking money into the repairs and it would never equate to buying a new or used vehicle that's, over 10 grand and then putting repairs and maintenance into that. But I've always been the guy who also says, well, I'm going to drive it into the ground until it can't drive no more. Well, guess what? My wife's car, as of yesterday, could drive, but it was not a good idea to keep driving it. So what did we do? We fought. We got into a fight. My wife's like, I'm not even going to look at cars because I just know you're going to fight me and say no. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I mean, we should at least look, but we should also consider repairing the vehicle too at the same time. And she's like, you're just going to get my hopes up. And I was like, well, probably right. You know what I'm saying? And she was right. I would get her hopes up because I'm going to show her a car and then I'm going to say, nah, let's not do it. Let's not do it. Let's not do it. Especially in this market. Used cars are up 10 to 15%. That is stupid. That is dumb, by the way. Just dumb. Guess what? After a day worth of stress, that light is annoying me. After a day of stress, finally, I went to this one website and I found a minivan for under $14,000 and under 100,000 miles. It was unheard of in the market right now. Everything I was searching that was under $14,000 had over 150,000 miles on it. And they were like $13,000, $12,000. I'm like, I'm not paying $12,000 for something with over 150,000. I got 170,000 sitting outside, broke down. There is no way. Okay. So we go to this dealership and I already told myself, I said, I'm going to buy this minivan. I'm going to buy this minivan. And my wife's just sitting there just like, he ain't going to buy this minivan. Why are we even going to here? I don't even know. But she was kind of excited at the same time. So we get there, meet the guy, take a test drive, go inside. I was like, when do I make the offer, bro? Like, come on, man. Let's not play this game, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I wouldn't like that. But I was like, okay, hey, man, when do I make my offer? Right now? And he's like, yeah, I'll be right back in a minute. I said, okay, that's cool. Comes back in, shows me the offer. I looked at the used car trade-in, and I looked, and I was like, that's a pretty good trade-in. Dang. I looked at the bottom price. I was like, nah, it's way too much money. So I looked at him. I said, Take $700 off that price, I'll write you a check. So I wrote down my offer. He took it back, comes back in and said, Merry Christmas. And I was like, hallelujah. And guess what? We used our emergency fund to do it. People don't believe me. People think I actually used debt to buy this car. But we were in a time of emergency. My wife has multiple appointments. She's got to take one kid to the cardiologist in an hour and a half from here. She has to take one kid to an audiologist an hour and a half from here. And like all this stuff coming up in January. And I'm like, there's no way this vehicle is going to do that. We have an emergency on our hands. After we wrote the check for that vehicle, nothing. Like there was no feeling of doing anything wrong. The feeling that I had inside of me was God gave me the ability to build that wealth. God gave me the ability to buy that vehicle. God gave us that great deal on that car. God's hand was in that. Why? I was financially obedient. Financially obedient. God blessed me. We have a small emergency fund now. What do? We back up. We build our emergency fund back up again. Okay? We don't just go, oh man, I ain't got no money. We got a little bit left, but now it's time to go back and hit the grind. You know? It's time to go back, build that emergency fund right back up. This message for you is to encourage you in building an emergency fund. Get out of debt and have an emergency fund that can fund any kind of emergency. Whether it's the copay if you get into the hospital, whether it's a new car, whether it's, I don't know, broken air conditioning system, whatever it may be, your emergency fund can cover it. You have that ability. You just have to get the drive and do it. So look, if you need a financial coach, I'm here. I can work virtually anywhere across the nation, thanks to technology. But if you're in the Myrtle Beach area, we can sit right down in my office. Michael Sokolik Jr. here with the Debt-Free Discovery. I hope that you got something taken away today from this. Remember, Proverbs 21:20, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil. Okay? Take care of your household. It's okay to do that. God bless you. Merry Christmas to you. This is Michael Sokolik Jr. with the Debt-Free Discovery.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debt-Free Discovery. Don't forget that diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in slave labor. We hope that you learned something today that you can take with you for the rest of your life. Remember, debt is dumb. Don't forget to crush it, stay out, and never go back in. Also, give generously. It's not yours to keep. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debt-Free Discovery.